Zambia Interfaith Networking Group is an interfaith network in Zambia that brings together the 7 major faith organizations in Zambia, namely the Baha'i Faith, the Council of Churches, the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, the Hindu Association, the Independent Churches of Zambia, the Islamic Supreme Council of Zambia, and the Zambia Episcopal Conference. Obviously, as you can see, that covers the 4 major religions in Zambia, that is Christianity, Baha'i, Islam, and Hindu. We don't have a big population of Buddhists or Jews, and our major thrust is to work in 3 areas: HIV and AIDS, gender, and human rights. Obviously, that is based on the understanding that these are the major issues that are affecting our people at home, particularly the issue of HIV and AIDS. But you cannot talk about HIV and AIDS without talking about gender, because of the relations that are there. And also, you cannot talk about HIV and AIDS without talking about human rights, because again, issues related to access to medicines, issues related to access to the different services that one requires, even life itself, because HIV, can be life-threatening, are things that violate or infringe upon human rights. So again, the human rights aspect. So these are the things that ZINGO does. Yes.
Great, thank you very much. So we are curious, what motivated you to work with faith leaders or religious communities?
Well, one, you have to understand that Africa, and particularly Zambia, is a highly religious, setting. Approximately 90% or 95% of Zambians belong to one faith organization or another. Okay, that's the first thing. So, having said that, it's also important to say that religion plays then a very big role in people's lives in Zambia. And so if you really want to make a change, if you really want to help the communities, it will be impossible for you to do that without the involvement of religious organizations. It's important for you to engage them, particularly religious leaders, because they command quite a lot of respect. But also beyond that, faith is a very important ingredient or variable, when it comes to social transformation. For example, you cannot talk to a Muslim, about anything without convincing them that that is part of Islamic teaching. Okay. Similarly, if you have to talk to anybody who's Baha'i, anybody who's Hindu, you have to appeal to their faith. And so it's important, that faith is used. In fact, saying is used is a very wrong terminology, but is drawn upon to engage people. Now, you cannot talk to the ordinary people without involving their religious leaders. So working with religious leaders was always important, in the sense that it's an entry point. It's through them, and it's because of the moral authority that they command, that you're able to then get to the communities. So that is what motivated us to work with faith organizations. But probably the last thing is that that faith, is always, or faith organizations are always concerned with the welfare of people. Faith organizations are places where people who have problems always run to, for solace, for counsel, for help, to go and confess, their problems. So again, it's a natural institution when it comes to the socio-economic, development or welfare of a lot of people in Africa. So you cannot work with communities without engaging faith organizations.
Yeah, you mentioned before, like your organization bring together different faith groups to help address the issues you mentioned, and could you share a little bit how, like, your experience of multi-religious cooperation, like how they cooperate with each other and what's the impact of their cooperation?
Yeah. So originally, ZINGO has been in existence for almost 20 years now. 19, because it was established in 1997, although formally it started working since 2003. So initially in 1997, when the various faith groups were being mobilized to work together, there was apprehension. There was I wouldn't say there wasn't accommodation. I mean, people did not know what that meant, for them to come and work, if they were from the Islamic community, to work with Christians, because there wasn't that precedence amongst themselves. Although many people at a family level are interfaith in nature. You would find that somebody is a Muslim, the brother is a Christian, without them realizing that the family is interfaith in nature. But when they came around the table, they had a problem. So initially there was apprehension. In fact, there were some people who did not even desire, to work, within ZINGO, because they felt, what is this? But with time, as people started gaining interest, and not only interest but trust, and they realized that what was bringing them together was not to talk about religion, was not to talk about faith, but it was to talk about the problems that, social problems that, other common people are facing, and how we can use the resource of faith to counter those problems. Once they realized, like the phrase I heard from Dr. Vandley, that when they came into ZINGO, it did not mean that they were leaving their faith at the door, or that they did not have to enter into ZINGO through belonging to another religion other than theirs. Once these things became very clear, crystal clear to them, then they started opening up. It strengthened the trust to the point that as we speak now, ZINGO has reached a point where it's very difficult for the organization to die, because of not only the trust that has developed amongst the various faith groupings, but because of the trust, what has happened on the ground, the many programs. Over the years that we've been around, a lot of young people have been helped to lead positive lives, to contribute to society in a positive way. A lot of orphans and vulnerable children who were hopeless, have been given hope through, educational support, psychosocial support. A lot of women who had, undergone gender-based violence, were made to believe in themselves, were economically empowered, to the point that now they own their businesses. But also, we have also been able to train young girls, in leadership. And I'm glad, to inform your audience that for the first time in Zambia, we have a woman mayor that is going to stand, a Muslim woman mayor that is going to stand because of the leadership trainings that we have, are given to her and, people like her. So I'm very optimistic about the engagement of religious leaders. I've had positive experiences, and I think we need to do more so that we can have many more communities, embracing each other, in an interfaith way. Yeah.
And that is also the mission of your organization.
And that is our mission of our organization. I mean, how can we empower, help faith-based communities, to provide social, economic services to the people in a way that helps these people lead quality lives.
Well, thank you very much for taking the interview with us today. We hope you enjoy your trip.
Thank you
here.
very much.